The school I went to in first, second and third grade, these differ a bit from your American system, had 2 consoles you could get lucky enough to spend the time with after school. A PlayStation 3 with standout titles like Fuel and Little Big Planet, a game that has almost been forgotten nowadays, making your own 2.5D levels with a cool miniature aesthetic. They also had a Wii, with the only games I can honestly remember for it being Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort. These 2 games were more than enough though. Hi. All
I do is throw that ball up in the air, and oh, jeez! And there goes the tennis racket.
But you can just simply call me Amazon. And today we go back to retrospectively review and compare elements of 3 of Nintendo's sports titles. This video is segmented up into 4 main parts, with this intro segment being before it. You can see them on screen now if you want to go down into the chapters and skip to your favorite game, or if you just want to hear my conclusion. But without further ado, let's get caught up. So every video with the Nintendo Wii here on YouTube has to start with the obvious. The Wii was huge. So huge it has only really been surpassed by a couple of PlayStations, the Nintendo DS and its iterations, and the Switch. Selling a bit over 100 million units. Released in 2006 for $249.99, the Wii was the cheapest and easily the most friendly option for most families that didn't know much about gaming past the fact that GTA was a plague. With the friendly-sounding Wii, Nintendo attempted and succeeded to attract a broader audience, including the most casual of gamers, and those who might not typically play video games, like your aunt or sporty little brother. This approach is not only kind of dangerous, it's straight up suicide if you don't make it in those audiences. I would have never, in today's eyes, looked at the Wii as a console to buy. A motion controller and white, modern, almost corporate aesthetic, with its only real titles being first party. Releasing a console successfully to people who want to play Call of Duty or FIFA and the latest slop from Ubisoft is kind of a feat that no company has managed to really do. It was family friendly and clean, futuristic in its controller, and somehow a magnet to all people, gamer or not. When you powered on the Wii, you were greeted by the very distinctive and user-friendly menu. An almost app-like lineup of programs sit in little rounded rectangles. These are called channels, like on a TV. The disc channel is where our disc-based games and media will show up. But unlike the PS3, the Wii can't play Blu-rays or even DVDs without modding and altering your device, which to me sounds kind of weird. Now that I think about it, this console would have almost been able to take over the entire set of devices underneath your TV if it did play these, which is one of the reasons the PS3 sold so well. But alas, these channels are what make this less of a gaming machine and more of some kind of hybrid, with channels to check the weather and photo albums, the news and more. But these were misplaced here. I don't know a single person who actually used these. The Wii also frankly didn't live up to the other consoles in terms of raw power, accentuating it as a pure gimmick for those who wanted to do anything else other than play motion-controlled games. It tried. Oh god did it try, but these third-party games were never better or even as good as on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 when played on the underpowered Wii, outside of a few outliers. A well-known fact is that the Wii is effectively just a juiced-up GameCube. I mean, it natively supports GameCube titles, and the Dolphin emulator runs them both like they're Siamese twins or something, which at the time also drove people away from it. Instead, once again, luring in the people who didn't usually play games to take a look at it instead. Mies, the profile and characters you can make on the Wii, is one thing I have to admit I miss. Seeing that stupid and low-fidelity version of yourself doing something funny or cool is still one of those things I miss on other consoles. Don't get me wrong, this wouldn't fit all that well into most other titles, but games made around them were almost always at least fun. In a childish, "look at me mom, I'm on the screen," in the entrance of a store kind of way. The console's affordability, approachable design, and the promise of innovative gameplay contributed to its popularity immeasurably. but in retrospect I can't help but to see the many faults with its design, the underpowered nature of its hardware, the gimmicky and sometimes unreliable motion controls, and the lack of third-party titles. But let's not get bogged down in the Wii. Instead, let's fire up its greatest launch title, the 4th most sold game of all time, Wii Sports. But first, hello, I have a new Discord server. Maybe go join it? Wii Sports was released on and alongside the aforementioned Nintendo Wii console in North America on November 19th, 2006, and over the following months in all the other territories. It was a launch title, made to show off just some of what their new controller and Mii characters were made for. It released to mostly glowing reviews, with most of the negativity stemming from the fact its controller had problems at times, the fact that some of the sports didn't feel steep or skillful enough, or the fact that the single-player experience wasn't fleshed out enough. I'm going to talk about all of these things at length, but first let's take a stab at the controller, a piece of technical marvel at the time, and one with many flaws. The Wii controller, officially known as the Wii Remote or Wiimote, was a revolutionary input device that set the Nintendo Wii apart from all the other consoles on release. A new way to interface with games, removing the need for buttons and joysticks, and instead giving you a rectangle to move throughout space. In its menus, you could use it like a laser to point. In games, you use it like something in the world of the game. A sword, a basketball, or steering wheel. This was possible with motion sensors, accelerometers, and an infrared sensor lying in front of your TV. This, in turn, allowed the controller to detect movement in 3 dimensions, translating your physical gestures into in-game actions, making things like button combinations in Devil May Cry into satisfying movement with your arms and hands instead. In this way, it's just more intuitive and easy to learn. No X, select and right bumper. Instead, overhead swing for a smash and turn the wheel left to turn left. The simplicity and accessibility of the Wii Remote contributed to the console's appeal to a broader audience, making it one of the biggest systems of all time, with the Wiimote and motion control doing most of the heavy lifting. It was user-friendly, inviting even those unfamiliar with gaming to pick up and play, and simply just intuitive. It has an expansion slot on the bottom. All of my controllers are already a later version, but the originals didn't have support for Wii Motion Plus, something we'll speak on later. This expansion slot also could be fitted with a nunchuck attachment for more buttons and a joystick. The Wii Remote also has a built-in speaker that doesn't sound all that good, but I have to admit it does add somewhat to the experience. The Wiimote was futuristic and maybe the single biggest console seller ever made, with a gimmick that made everyone into a gamer if they're willing to look just a little ridiculous in front of their TV. It was such a big deal that both PlayStation and Xbox tried doing the same thing. You might remember the laughable answer from Xbox, the Kinect, and the underutilized PlayStation Move, which didn't really have any games made for it. But let's forget about the controller for just a minute and start up the first game in the series, Wii Sports. Let's get the basics out of the way first. In all of the sports you have a sort of level, with the goal being 1000. You can go over this goal if you're one to do that sort of thing, but doing that nets you nothing. You earn anywhere from 6 points for a close loss or 300 for a total owning session. So don't worry, making it to level 1000 is not a long affair. It does get more challenging as you go, with the opposing CPUs getting better and better at the game. Some sports, like tennis, places more and more people in the stands to show off how much more notable you are, which is admittedly a rather cool little detail. This game looks fine. It looks significantly better in my footage than how it looks on my big screen using the original hardware. Natively in 480p, it didn't look very crisp on my 65-inch, but it also doesn't look outright horrible. Text and small details do look fuzzy, but the game is obviously made with the smaller resolutions in mind, and the game is more than clear enough where it counts. Other parts of it don't look all that good, however. Crowds are just colorful splotches or just non-existent. Other games have done this better. The least you can do is just put a couple of jumping PNGs back there to at least try and simulate a crowd going wild after a great smash or home run. The boxing does this, so maybe you should have just put these everywhere. And I know it probably has something to do with optimizing the game or whatever, but PNGs, I mean, come on. These environments look mostly okay, but they seldom add to the game at all, being boring and generic most of the time. There are exceptions to this. The aforementioned boxing ring does look cool in the establishing shots, but outside of that, I have a pretty hard time finding good examples. Animations are consistently great, with sports like baseball being a good showcase. Swinging the bat looks great and feels undeniably satisfying. The UI is also pretty amazing. Some of it is admittedly kind of boring, like the more informative stuff, showing the score on the screen as a static element. But stuff like getting a KO in boxing or winning a tennis match followed by the cool Wii Sports transition looks great if not amazing, being less corporate and more Nintendo and playful. This is all brought together with the sound. We all know that the music is amazing already. I don't have to convince you there, but the sound effects are almost always amazing here too. Hitting the ball in tennis is just borderline ASMR, a satisfying pop followed by a cheering crowd. Some go overboard, however. Baseball has a bit too much here, especially taking the crowd into account. The aforementioned pop-ups like KO or missing the ball in baseball come with a little soundbite. These are just plain fun, and nicely heighten these moments just a bit. Overall, Wii Sports looks fine. I have little to no problem telling where and what stuff is, but it's also just a bit fuzzy, and definitely low in resolution. Heightened by the sound and quality animations, but lowered somewhat by the boring overall presentation in form of the environments and static UI elements. So, what's on offer here? To be honest, not that much. Wii Sports Resort just kind of blows this game away when it comes to the number of sports, but there are still reasons to play this game over that one, with my main reason being tennis. 4 players, 2 teams. You can play against 3 of your friends, or 2 with 1 being on their own, against 1 with you piloting 2 characters at the same time, or against CPUs or bots. 1 plays in the front, another in the back, with the one in the back always setting up the serve. This is where the fun begins. There are at least 3 very different serves. The standard serve. Some people have never seen anything past this one. Just throw the ball and hit it when it looks right. The ball satisfyingly flies across the screen to your opponent, and boom, the ordinary serve. This is easy to return and very easy to react to. It doesn't really ever lead to anything, but yeah, that's the most basic serve there is. Next, the super serve, where you have to hit the ball at the peak of the throw, sending it both quickly and low to the other side. This is an around 5-frame window, or around 1/6 of a second. Some people don't know about this, I truthfully didn't before starting to research for this video, but yeah, there's some cool stuff in there. Finally, what I call a drop serve, where you hit the ball as late as possible, almost making it look like you dropped your serve, sending it both slowly and shallowly into the other side of the court. This tends to trip some people up at times. A bit of tech that just serves to make the game a bit deeper, if only to people who don't already know about it. But the nuance doesn't stop here. No, there are ways to control the ball in more ways than serve. We can also hit balls with both top and bottom spin, directing the height of the ball by angling our Wiimote. This is hard to do without looking at your controller, so it all comes down to the just feeling stuff like this out. This has the tendency to make things feel inconsistent, but the few times it makes you hit the net or give the other team a free score is almost always outweighed by the mostly consistent feeling of the rest of it. How fast the ball goes has nothing to do with how fast you swing your Wii controller, even if it does feel like that sometimes when you stand in front of your TV. Instead, it's all about timing. This is a good thing though, because it promotes being smart about it instead of risking your new plasma for a game of virtual tennis. This also makes it a whole lot more replayable, and ultimately a whole lot more deep, instead of throwing your arm around being the only measure of success. The person in front does feel a bit underpowered, which seems weird to lots of people, but he just can't redirect the ball enough to be as useful as the guy in the back. But he's a good backup tool when needed. The guy in the back is really who gets to dictate the speed here, which I mostly like. It kind of makes the game playable actually. Imagine if the guy in the front could throw out smashes like the guy in the back. That would suck actually. There are 3 training modes for every sport, and I think that this one feels a bit weird, especially the last training mode when you play against a wall. It's all just a bit too fast and somewhat hard to follow the ball with the target you have to hit. It's not bad, but yeah, there are better training modes there. There is some depth here, all without needlessly muddling the experience for those who just want to play some tennis. In this way, it's maybe the best single game, outside of bowling, that every single person in your friend group or family can play at least somewhat well. Swinging your arm from side to side. It might be obvious, but tennis is my favorite sport to play in Wii Sports, and it's the one I come back to from time to time while listening to a great podcast on my PC, firing the game up in Dolphin. It's not mindless, but still simple if you want it to be. Baseball in Wii Sports is a favorite to some, but definitely not me. First of all, I don't really get baseball in the first place. I'm not going to be using words like inning and comebacker. I don't care about baseball at all, or fundamentally any other sport actually. Secondly, I am horrible at this one. The sport presented here in the game is deceptively simple. You throw the ball and you throw the bat around, get as many guys around the field as possible to score. But it's not that simple. First of all, as the guy pitching, that's throwing the ball, there are 3 different ways to throw the ball, and 4 different locations you can throw them. The locations are simple: left, right, up and down, but the different throws are a bit deeper. The screw and curveball veer off to either left or right, and the splitter seemingly drops right in front of the batter. This splitter is especially hard for human opponents to hit, so using it against your friends is very powerful, but you're also kind of an asshole for doing that. The CPU is a whole lot better at hitting these, so switching things up is advised here. Batting is a whole different ballgame, and one I suck at. Hitting the ball is just hard. I had to seriously get good here, improving by doing over and over. The throwing is so easy you don't even have to think about motion controls, timing or aim at all. Just throw the balls using different buttons on your controller. But the batting is super hard in comparison. Even harder is hitting it well. Getting a home run felt almost random to me, but again, I do suck at it. The training modes for this one is especially important, for that very reason. This is the legendary Wii Bowling, in all its 480p glory. Get as many pins as possible, maybe even a strike or spare here and there, with the scoring of real bowling. So if you don't know much about bowling, you get to learn how bowling works while playing this one. I still don't really know, but yeah, hit the pins to win. How you swing the Wiimote will have a big impact on how the bowling ball rolls towards the pins. You can put spin on the ball, bowl the ball at an angle, or bowl it slowly or fast. How this works is all a bit complicated, but it works well enough. But not well enough for it to feel wholly consistent. There are definitely times I tried my damnedest to get the ball to spin in one direction, only for it to spin in the other instead. Getting the ball to spin and move faster and slower is all about the timing and somewhat about how you flick and angle your wrist. This game doesn't have the best motion controls, but they work well enough. Releasing the ball too early will give you too much spin, while releasing it late will give you a slow and very straight shot. Releasing it way too late can make the ball actually bounce on the lane. Oh, and if you release it almost instantly, the ball will fly backwards into the Miis sitting behind you, startling them, which is a nice detail. The training modes here are especially fun. Actually fun enough to take up a couple of really exciting minutes with the game. You get to hone your skills here, and they all translate really well into the main modes. This sport is great for lots of people. Taking turns lining up the perfect hit, between the first and second pin with a little bit of spin. or just to try and hit the thing as perfectly as you can head on, getting a strike that way. There are many ways to be good at Wii bowling, but I'm certainly not. Bowling is maybe the most popular sport to play in the game, but I vastly prefer the later iteration of it. We'll get to that later, so instead, let's look at golf. Everything before golf has been a hit for me, or at least pretty solid. Wii Sports Golf doesn't work all that well. It was made 100 times better, to the point it's among my favorites, in the sequel Wii Sports Resort. So the version here doesn't have a reason to exist in my mind. What makes this version so bad in comparison is the fact that the motion controls just feel off here. Hitting the ball is something the game does for you, but the speed at which it does this is what feels so bad. I had a really hard time hitting the ball without it going nowhere or going all over the place. The golfing here has 9 holes, 3 easy, 3 normal, and 3 hard, with the hard ones being hard in the sense that the map is less open and more gimmicky. These are pretty well made, with all types of clubs being useful at some time or another. The driver is for hitting the ball far but is somewhat inaccurate. The iron is for mid-range shots, where you can hit the ball far but more accurately. The wedge is for short golf shots near the green. You won't be able to hit it very far, but it will be fairly accurate, and compared to the putter, it will leave the ground, which has some uses. I don't like the golfing in this game. It makes curving the ball into a very untactile and somewhat random affair. It makes hitting the ball at a perfect speed so hard, and it lacks some of the clubs and stuff from the later titles. But some people will still stand behind this one. I don't really get why, but you do you, I guess. Boxing in Wii Sports is the most hit or miss thing ever produced and written to a disc. No, this isn't a joke. I know I use the words hit and miss, but I mean it in a less literal way, because to me, this is the most inconsistent sport you can play in this game, especially against someone else, because unlike the bots, my friends aren't programmed to have openings in their defense. This is also the only sport that uses the joystick attachment for the Wiimote to simulate using both of your arms to fight. Hold up your fist to your face to protect yourself and hit wildly and hope the Wii picks up the punches to win. There's a dodging mechanic in there, tilting both the nunchuck and Wiimote at the same time, turning your character left and right. Not unlike lots of the other sports in the game, this sport values timing greatly, but unlike most of them in the game, this one values rhythm most of all, making sure not to tire yourself out while doing the opposite to your opponent. There's some strategy and some cool tech here too. You can't knock someone out without a hard last punch, so instead of mindlessly jabbing when your opponent is at low health to not let him get his own punch in, the game wants you to hit one of the harder to hit attacks, which serves as a bit of a comeback mechanic for less skilled players. This against friends is actually one of the more demanding sports, especially if you do more than a couple in a row. Your arms will ache after this one. Don't worry, there are worse sports for that we'll get to later on. There's also lots of depth here for people who really care, but I don't. Mostly because of the iffy Wii controls here. All in all, I have many fond memories with tennis, bowling and some with boxing, but outside of being a great, maybe the greatest single console seller combined with tech demo ever made, it doesn't impress me today. Leveling up to pro and playing some of the side modes does give the game some stopping power and makes it less of a tech demo, giving you somewhat of a goal to work towards. The CPU Mii's helped greatly with this too, but to me there's only really a single reason to start this game and play it with my friends over anything else. Tennis. And I'm sad to say that it didn't make its way into Wii Sports Resort. Learning the super serve, timing your shots and making it to pro is something I really enjoyed. A truly fun and engaging experience for me. But again, outside of that, I see little to no reason to start Wii Sports over its predecessor. Wii Sports Resort was released on June 25, 2009 in Japan, and in the rest of the world a month later in late July, almost 3 years after Wii Sports. To me, it never felt like that was the case though. Everyone had these two games, and I never really thought about it that way. It released 2 positive reviews, 8s for the most part, but some companies seemingly preferred the first game, like Edge magazine. The company that also thought that the original Doom didn't have enough NPCs to talk to or form alliances with. The game sold exceptionally well, only overtaken by the much talked about Wii Sports and Mario Kart Wii, placing 3rd in the console's lineup, but also in the top 15 of all time. Wii Sports Resort was also bundled with the Wii Motion Plus attachment. Wii Motion Plus, an add-on for the Wii Remote, enhances the controller's sensibility for position and movement, therefore elevating its precision. This extension makes possible something that the original just didn't truly account for, with more nuanced and advanced movements, providing a heightened level of responsiveness for a truly superior experience. It was a good attachment, more than worth the cost. All the Wiimotes I own have this already built in. It also says so on the bottom of the controller, making a sleeker and less weird looking controller. I don't actually know the specifics of how much better this controller upgrade really is, but what I do know is that it makes so many things not possible in the original Wii Sports somehow possible now. So the basics. Here we are again. A new game, new stuff. First, Wii Sports Resort is a whole lot more involved than the first game. It's less of a demo disc or tech demo and more of a well-rounded and somewhat expanded minigame collection, with some minigames being so expanded they almost make a minigame collection in themselves. We're also taken to a whole new place. The first game takes place in a generic green grass, blue sky, white building corporate plaza, while Wii Sports Resort takes place on Woohoo Island, a tropical island with turquoise water, sandy beaches, and Hawaiian shirts. We're also treated to a more involved intro, and an actual title drop and everything. The graphics here are expanded too, not only in fidelity because, yes, this game does utilize the lacking hardware notably better, but also in the way that it's just less boring now. You play table tennis by the pool of what looks like a resort. You play basketball on a street court and shoot archery on a windy bridge. It's all just more exciting in this way, compared to its predecessor. You can also get stamps in this game, to show off your expertise or to just have something to work towards. To me, they just serve as a worse version of achievements, which I rarely care about. The music is just as good here as in the first game, giving us classics like this one. That never fails to get me going. So what's on offer here anyway? Well, a whole lot. Not counting the side modes within modes, even though I really should, because some modes like Frisbee Golf are just so different from their original mode. There are 12 sports to play here. That's double the amount in the previous title. And if we take away bowling and golf, 2 sports that are just better in this game but were actually in the last game, we're still left with 10 completely new ones. That's a lot, but they're not all made to the same standard. In Air Sports, you fly a plane into and around the different things, finding amusing little Easter eggs like going inside the volcano and so on. Air Sports is weird, and to me, felt like something you'd play after completing the game while watching the ending credits. It's not the worst sport to me though. It doesn't fit here very well, but it's not the worst still. Its controls are kind of amazing, with the controller essentially acting as a small toy airplane you get to swoosh around in the air. This mode is a good time. It looks good and exploring the island is somewhat amusing, but not for very long. You'll find all the little locations and that's about it. It's the best way to take in the new setting though, which might make it notable, but other than that, I do have a really hard time talking about this one, because to me, it felt like a side mode in itself. About that. The side modes here aren't that much better either. You get to do some skydiving and the same plane thing, but at other times of day. Nothing special here. Archery is a good sport in Wii Sports Resort, but people won't play it because it doesn't sound all that exciting. In archery, you wield a bow and 3 arrows. You play a couple of rounds that ramp in difficulty by adding an element like wind or just by putting targets further away, but also by moving the target from side to side and so on. The maps in themselves are pretty fun to look at. They're all special in their own little way. A dark overpass of a tunnel, a windy and scary looking bridge, or a normal looking field. You draw your bow using the Wii nunchuck while using the Wii Emote to aim. This feels surprisingly accurate, with the crosshair becoming smaller and smaller the longer you aim. But if you aim too long, it will begin to expand again, almost to simulate the strain on your little Mii character. This mode is all about being steady and learning to both lead and anticipate shots, with the length of targets having the most effect. I could probably learn the exact height I should be aiming at to hit the middle all the time, but I don't like this mode that much. There are 3 difficulty modes here, all just add to the difficulty by making targets further away, moving them and so on. They also take place in even cooler places. You can also play this mode with friends, the highest points win, but I never did. Something so accuracy based can quickly become boring, especially with a couple of friends waiting for you to steady up and shoot. My favorite sport to play in Wii Sports Resort is not basketball, but the more I play it, the more fun it has gotten. There is some truly cool stuff here. I don't know anything about the sport really, except that you have to legally shout "Kobe" every time you throw the ball even remotely close to the basket. But how do we do that? Well, to introduce the mechanics a little, let's look at the 3-point contest. In this mode, you throw balls and try to get as many points as possible. This, at first for a beginner, is a pretty hard task. Lots of people struggle here. Here's how to hit it almost every time. Take the ball by leaning down and pressing the B button. Then raise your hands above your head and hit an imaginary bell right as you let go of the B button. Do this as straight as you can. Now the hardest thing to get down here is the timing, like many sports. We'll see more of this later, but I think that timing was emphasized so much because of the lack of finer controls for the Wiimote, which is a great way to go about things. But as we learn later, some sports will feel kind of intuitive with this way of going about things. In the pickup game mode, we play defense and offense trying to shoot baskets. There is some cool stuff you can do here on at least one of the sides, which is pretty cool. If you're on defense, your goal is to steal the ball by flicking your Wiimote when the ball is undefended, or to jump and block when someone shoots. It's a pretty easy thing to do, however. So scoring a goal is more about managing to outplay someone to the point they didn't have time to react, or to the point that they're laying on the ground after a failed interrupt. When you're on the offensive, you can also dribble by doing the motion with your controller. This moves all the other Miis on the court, allowing you to then strategically pass to one of them with one of 2 buttons. Shooting straight after a pass is to me the best way to catch someone off guard, but again, that'll only work a couple of times against someone who isn't a robot. There are some cooler and more in-depth mechanics here that I didn't learn about before going and researching for this video, like the fact you can dunk. Lots of people watching this video probably think I'm stupid, but yeah, you can dunk on your friends in the middle of a pickup game. And that's fucking awesome. Also, if you pass around enough, one of your team's Miis will eventually go past the 3-point line, so that you can get 3 points instead of 2 for your shot. Which is something I never really thought about at all before making this video. I wish there was more to dig into here, but yeah, this mode is kind of deep compared to a lot of the other stuff on offer here, which makes it one of those modes I enjoyed an extra little bit. I had a lot of fun with the basketball here, but I do wish it was just a tad bit more involved. Bowling is to many, in the first Wii Sports title, the best thing about it. I don't agree. I like tennis a whole lot, but bowling does make a whole lot more sense here. Wii Motion Plus just adds a whole lot. Again, it's just a complete copy of the first game for the most part, but stuff like spins are a whole lot more intuitive and now focus more on you moving your wrist and not your entire body in hopes for a spin. It's more realistic in that way, I guess, too. With all this said, I truthfully don't like bowling all that much. I think it's kind of boring. This is surely a me issue. A lot of people call this sport the best in the game, but I just don't. I mostly enjoy it, but I can't say I honestly like it for more than a game or 2. In this game, they added a couple of notable side modes to bowling. I know lots of people really like 100-pin bowling, which is exactly what it might sound like. Bowling with 100 pins instead of 10. There's also the spin control game mode, which adds stuff in the lane for you to bowl around. It's a great way to practice your spins and take up a couple of minutes of your time. Did you know that you can go canoeing in Wii Sports Resort? Yeah, me neither. And do you want to do it now that you know about it? Yeah, me neither. That's my view on fucking canoeing in Wii Sports Resort. Who was this shit even made for? I guess it does give you somewhat of a workout having to replicate the moves of rowing, but other than that it just feels bad to play. I outright do not like this sport. It's boring and feels unresponsive. You move slowly and turning feels way too slow sometimes, while at others the canoe turns by itself because for some reason the controller thought you were rowing harder than you did in reality. A bad sport that didn't really need to be added. It feels undeniably intuitive at first. Just use the Wii remote to paddle, alternating left and right, paddle on one side less or more to turn, and so on. But it just doesn't really work, and for that reason, this mode doesn't feel all that good. It feels bad. This game's boxing is cycling, because man, my arms after a couple of races just feel numb. That might be because I rarely leave my apartment or because I have not been to a gym in almost 10 years, but also because this game just wants you to fucking flail your arms around like a Bloodborne boss on psychedelics. This game uses the nunchucks, which is something to mention, I guess. The two main modes here both manage to kind of suck. The first one has you and someone else on a tandem, with the one in the back somehow always putting the bike into a wheelie, even though they didn't want to. To go forward, you just move both the nunchuck and Wiimote like maracas. To turn, you either lean left or right with your entire body or with the controllers. This turning can feel good, but most of the time it doesn't, putting you into some kind of turning mode. But you almost always finish turning before getting out of it, meaning you'll just keep on turning. It feels bad, it looks goofy, and it's just infuriating. The other mode, the race, is the better offering here, but neither is very good. At first, I thought that the frisbee sport in this game was a total fucking mess. I just couldn't get the frisbee to go where I wanted, but then I did it again, and again, and again. And now, I kind of get it. The thing that did it for me is that you have to release it way before it feels like you should, and when you start to get the way the frisbee spins and moves in the air, it's almost instantly a whole lot more understandable. The main frisbee mode really isn't though. This mode is just kind of bad, with getting points as the only real objective. It's boring and most of all just repetitive to a point rounds feel longer than they are in reality. The point system is also kind of fucked up, bonuses being the only real way to win. Playing this with a couple of friends in front of my TV indeed showed me that this mode probably wasn't all that popular with the older audience back in the day, because this just isn't very intuitive. Once you get it though, it kind of is, which stings just a little bit more. The side mode is notable above all else here because frisbee golf is genuinely one of my favorite sports in the entire game. It serves as the more casual and less slow version of normal golf, with just as many holes, making it maybe the most expansive side mode in the entire game, and one I truthfully somehow completely forgot before replaying these games again. You can pick from 3 different frisbees that go far, kind of far, and not so far, but there's no need to land exactly in the right place, because all you need the frisbee to do is to hit the tall pillar that acts as the hole in normal golf. I like this sport a whole lot, even though the frisbee feels a bit uncontrollable to most people in the beginning. I do wish the mode was just a bit simpler to get into, and I think the way that you angle your shot isn't all that intuitive and feels useless most of the time. But as a less serious version of golf, this is truly a great sport. In Wii Sports Resort, the golf might look like a carbon copy of its predecessor. It is, but the added movement accuracy and small updates to the game mode do add to it in a way that makes it a great experience, especially compared to its Wii Sports counterpart. Wii Sports' main problem here was the lack of nuance in the controls. Hitting something hard was hard, but not in a satisfying and fun way, but in a weird and almost gimmicky glitchy kind of way. In Wii Sports Resort I had some of the same problems, but only because I tend to just get on with it, not hitting many practice swings before hitting my perfect shot. This is just a different way of playing the game, a game mode I think they should have added, to be frank. Because lining up shots for a solid minute while your friends wait for their turn can become boring to lots of people. I have a good time doing both, but to me, frisbee golf somehow manages to do the casual, quick golfing better than this sport does, which is a bit sad. Using all the special clubs and swinging distances here is great. Trying to predict how far the ball will bounce or roll after a swing became a highlight for me. Should I hit a 2 here and hope it rolls close, or should I gamble on a 3 and hope it gets even closer if it doesn't bounce? And so on. There are genuine strategy needed here, and I imagine that if you get good at this, you'll be able to do some amazing stuff here. The spins do feel a bit weird, only really getting applied at the beginning and end of your swing. It feels a bit off, but works well most of the time. They only added 9 holes here, but we do also get to play the original 9 from the first game too. This makes for an even 18, which is a whole lot. A full 18-hole marathon with a couple of friends is something I can recommend, especially if you all manage to stick pretty close to each other in terms of score. A great time. But I'm not sure if I think that 9 holes is enough. I kind of wanted more holes here, but that's only because I really like the golf in this game, I guess. Ah, a water sport. How exciting. Well, here we go, I guess. I don't like power cruising in this game, and the fact you have to plug in the nunchuck attachment doesn't help it much either. Hold the controllers like you're holding onto a scooter and move around to make the thing move. Race around the track and get times and points and so on. It's a gimmick, but it does work really well most of the time. It's not perfect, far from it. I had difficulties turning sometimes because the game just didn't let me, but most of the time it worked more than okay. This sport is just a bit of a throwaway, to the point I had to kind of force myself to start it up to get this part of my script out of the way. It's not bad, it's just not for me at all. It's boring and samey, and I just didn't have all that much fun with it. Swordplay was my favorite sport when I started playing the game on the after-school Wii. I mean, using what essentially looks like a lightsaber to fight endless hordes of bots? That's awesome. But today I can't see past the obvious shortcomings here. First of all, if you're not swinging or blocking with your sword against another person, the game just doesn't really work. The CPU Miis don't stand a chance against you. They can't predict and or react fast enough to your relenting slashes and lightning quick blocks. Secondly, a valid and more than okay strategy in 2 of the 3 modes here is to just flail your sword wildly in front of you like you're whipping cream against the TV. This strategy just mows down people for some reason. Pressing the B button on the back of your Wiimote makes you guard. The guarding system is really simple, just hold it perpendicularly to where your opponent is going to hit, essentially creating an X when the strike hits. When someone hits your guarded stance, they get stunned for a little bit, allowing you to hit them back. The same thing will happen the other way around though, so don't get too cocky here. Instead, try hitting them parallel to their guard. What sucks here though is that if you play the side mode, the 10 levels with Miis running towards you as you make your way to the boss, the Miis just don't hold their guard very much, especially as they run up to you, allowing you to just go ham and reach crazy numbers in terms of combos. The bosses do have you slowing down a bit though, but not always. Sometimes you'll just run at them and finish off all their lives in mere milliseconds, just throwing your sword around like some crazy Sekiro boss. Playing and finishing all of these levels was mostly a good time, but not taking a single bit of damage is just granted. And what's crazy is that I remember actually having a hard time playing against these enemies, retrying over and over to get to the next level when I was a kid. There's a side mode here where you have to play Fruit Ninja, hitting stuff in the right direction to get points. This is a fine way to spend a couple of minutes, maybe to go for a high score or something, but other than that it's just a tad bit boring. Here we are, my personal favorite sport. ping pong or table tennis. This sport is, to me, the one that feels the deepest and most like the original sport. I say that knowing that golf is probably up there too, but I have never played golf in real life, outside of mini-golf, so I don't honestly know. The most basic mode. The only mode you should actually be playing in this one is one I try my absolute hardest in, because to me it feels like the one sport the game really dug deep into and made the most intuitive out of all of them. There's not a single button you have to press to do any of the spins or smashes, only your body and the Wiimote. That isn't true in reality. You can absolutely play this sport sitting down. I sit in front of my PC with the Dolphin emulator open on one screen as I write this, but standing up does help with having more motion in the upper body, so stand the fuck up and play. First of all, the serve. There's some depth here, but unlike the tennis we spoke about a while ago, this isn't all about timing. There's also some stuff we can do to make the ball spin here too. If we hit the ball while turning our racket inwards the ball, we'll do a quick turn downwards and to the side, sending the ball at a nasty angle. It isn't that hard to hit and not really that hard to return either. If we do the opposite with our Wiimote, turning the ball the other way, it floats in a very weird manner, an even easier ball to return, but it often disturbs the flow of the game to a point it can make you try and hit with the wrong side of your racket. This is my single biggest critique against the mode. You have to have a really good relationship with your own me here. Look at the way he's holding the paddle and you do the same. This has fucked me over more than a couple of times, being way too deep into the game, solely concentrating on the ball and how I would return it, but the Wii simply isn't that intuitive. We see this in this frisbee sport a bit, having to release way earlier than you'd do if you threw the frisbee in real life. Playing against a me of high level or similarly good friend in this mode is just a treat. Matches can go on for a long time this way, and can get more than competitive. There are a few smashes in here too. If you're too late or narrowly hit the ball at an awkward angle while still managing to get the ball to the other side of the table, the ball goes high in the air with a noticeably wobbly tail. This is where you smash. Returning smashes is not impossible, but you'll often just get smashed again. Not always. You can definitely save yourself here, but still, smashes are powerful and should not be underestimated. The side modes on offer here are fine. A return challenge to get as many balls as possible and so on. I don't play them. You don't have to because, well, the main mode is simply that good without it. The sound the ball makes as it connects with the racket just stays with me. It's a truly great little itty piece of gaming right there. The Mii's in the background looking at you play. The location of the table. To me, it all nicely combines into somehow the best illustration of the resort part of Wii Sports Resort in a way some of the others try to do, but mostly fall flat compared to this one. Don't get me wrong here either, this is just to me the best version of this. To others, it'll be the impossibly blue water or everlasting sunset in some of the other modes, but to me, the pool and resort in the background just make for the perfect example, and the game I'd put on the box if I had to choose one. Wakeboarding is mostly fun, but doesn't really require anything past timing and some small semblance of skill. What I'm trying to say here is that while undeniably entertaining, it also demands little beyond a bit of timing and a very modest degree of skill. In essence, its charms tends to wane after a couple of minutes of doing it. But what is wakeboarding? Well, you're on a wakeboard doing tricks in mid-air for points. You jump off the waves behind the boat you're being tugged around by. These points depend on jump height, timing, and so on. Higher difficulties introduce obstacles in the water that can make the Mii's lose their grip on the rope. There's truly not a whole lot of depth here, with all the mechanics being very repetitive. The best part of the mode is trying to land straight, but it also gets both very easy and very monotonous. I don't like this mode all that much, but its inclusion, unlike something like canoeing, doesn't genuinely offend me. In conclusion, Wii Sports Resort has a fuck ton of sports, especially when we take a look at the side modes, some of which manage to surpass its main mode. 12 main sports with both letdowns like wakeboarding and cycling, modes that didn't have enough depth or different things to engage with to make them fun or longer for more than 5 minutes. But there's also some truly fun and deeply engaging sports in there. Sports like table tennis invite players to truly get good and become a true ping pong champion, with fast serves, smashes, and different types of spins and timings. I love this one especially. There are entertaining and sometimes extremely exciting basketball pickup games. Buzzer beaters are still a thing here, and playing against friends is some of the most fun I've had in Wii Sports Resort. The Nintendo Switch was released in early 2017 to an audience that really didn't know what to think about it. To many people, Nintendo was kind of dead, and I was one of these people. After the release of the Wii U, that a lot of people thought was just another upgrade to the Wii, Nintendo was in a bit of a slump. The gimmick of the Wii U, the tablet that people thought could be used as a portable console, was just a weird controller with a screen on it. Somehow kind of a clone of the Dreamcast controller. Another gimmick that just didn't succeed to the point the Wii originally did. There was a Wii Sports remake on this console. I'm not speaking on it more than this little mention here, but yeah, the Wii U was a failure for Nintendo, and the Switch, another gamble on a gimmick, had to be a winner. And it was. The Nintendo Switch managed to make the Wii U both portable and not, giving players like me, who don't travel and play that much at the same time, a good home console for Nintendo games, but also a great console for travel or to just lug around. Playing the Nintendo Switch in a McDonald's sounds like an awesome time. I'd never do it because I'm way too awkward for something like that, but yeah, the console with detachable controllers on the move? The thing is, the controllers on this console somehow managed to outmove almost all the others in this video. The Switch Joy-Cons are fantastic motion controls, to the point that almost all the sports in this game just work. I had little to no problems at all with any of the controls here, which have almost constantly been the biggest problem with the earlier games. Being able to just pull these controllers off the main console, the way to also charge them. Using them turned on the side for something like seamless Mario Kart experience is also great. This was their gimmick, being able to use them for so many things. Nintendo Switch Sports was released pretty recently, at the end of April 2022, to mostly mixed reviews. Mostly 6s and 7s and a couple of 8s. Critics managed all to find something that they didn't like with the game. Some disliked its focus on multiplayer online, something I can't really fault them for. The originals were made for the entire family in front of the TV, not the whole extended family stretching across the globe. Some of the unlockable stuff is tied to this mode, which makes sure you won't be able to play this game in the future. There's also the lack of sports. This game had 6 sports on release. Me just saying that feels foul in my mouth, because yes, just like a lot of bad live service games nowadays, they didn't finish the game before releasing it. They added golf a couple of months after release, which is just so sad to see happen to a franchise like this. This release of golf also somehow got delayed. I have no idea how they even managed that. The game looks great. It's clearly the latest release in the series in this way. Stuff just looked good here. Most of the sports look to take place in an almost futuristic mall, with lots of greenery and windows to look to the outside world. It's a nice mix-up from the corporate feeling spaces of the first game and the relaxed feeling of the resort in the second game. The fidelity here is great. Stuff looks not 480p on my screen, which is nice. The UI is mostly a downgrade here. Same with the music for the most part. It just feels less exciting and more digital. There are great songs in there too, don't get me wrong, but overall it's just not the same. That might just be my nostalgia speaking though. One of the most iconic parts of the first 2 games is the Miis. This game forgoes them almost entirely. You can still use your own Mii here, but the opponents now look a bit more detailed and somehow a bit more corporate Memphis, a Google 2015 aesthetic with less soul than the original Mii concept. Some arenas here are a bit weird looking, like where we play football. This arena looks strangely familiar to Rocket League players, with rounded corners, force field barriers, and a huge ball. These places look futuristic to almost sci-fi, while Wii Sports look minimalist. In this way, it's very different to the first two games I've talked about. Is that inherently a bad thing? No, but it is different, which is something we'll see throughout this game. Golf in Wii Sports was bad because of the controls. Golf in Resorts was great, and here in Switch Sports its controls are mostly good, but it just lacks new stuff. They also, for some reason, removed the preview thing on the side of the screen to show how hard your putt will be. Why can't I see the preview thing when I use the putter? I don't get it. Is it to make it more realistic? To make it more suspenseful? Who knows? All I know is that it is worse. You won't hit any cool snipes on a sloped and far away hole anymore, because even if you train the perfect length there, you won't ever be sure the way you could be in Wii Sports Resort. But that isn't the only bad thing here. The worst addition to golf in Switch Sports is the fact that there are none. They added 3 levels in this game. That's not a whole lot. If anything, it's a fucking dreadful amount. It's so few it barely counts. What makes it somehow worse though is that they, for the 3rd time in a row, they have the original 9 holes from the game that started the Wii Sports lineage of games. How is that okay? 9 holes from the first game, 9 holes from Wii Sports Resort, and 3. Fucking 3 that are original in this game. Making a golf level can't be hard. It just can't. Just give me 9 new holes at least. At the very least. It's just unacceptable to me. I played 9 holes in the first game, with bad controls, but had fun because of the different holes and their gimmicks. Then I played Wii Sports Resort and played an 18-hole marathon. Great coursers with mostly amazing controls. This was great. Then I played 21 holes, with those same 18 holes as the last time, with 3 admittedly good levels that this game added. That was it. It's just an insult to me that they released this sport months after release, only for it to suck this hard. I mean, they even took the time to delay this. The least they could have done is make it more than just okay, with more than 3 new holes. Man. Nintendo had to do something original for the newest sport title. They didn't really for the Wii U, but for the others there was always some kind of innovation or gimmick. Football and the leg strap, a little pouch you place on your leg, was the gimmick in this game, and a gimmick that just doesn't work at all. But there's a silver lining here, because when we played the normal modes without this gimmick, yes, that little thing you place on your leg is only needed for a single side mode without much merit past being a gimmick. Past this gimmick, there's a good mode, or at least an okay mode, a one-on-one or team-based mode that does make sense. This mode is maybe the most gamey sport in the entire series, set in a Rocket League arena with a huge ball that doesn't make much sense outside of a game. You have to use both of your Joy-Cons here. So I didn't play this against actual people, but I have to admit that this mode does have some merit. You get to kick the ball just by moving your arm, and the direction it goes to feels natural and intuitive. But not in the way lots of other sports is intuitive. Your grandma wouldn't be able to play this. There are a couple of special moves here like the dive you can do and stuff, but mostly it's pretty simple. You can run and there's a stamina bar, and you can jump kick. It's pretty obvious that this was the main mode the game wanted to promote, because this is maybe one of the most involved modes in Wii Sports history. Oh, and after you hit a goal and jump, your character looks unbelievably happy, which is a fun little detail. Volleyball, a sport that just makes sense in Switch Sports, is mostly good. It's a good time, especially against a friend who's on the same level as you, but you'll never have 4 players playing against each other here, which means at least 1 or probably 2 bots will make the game slower and more boring. Is this my problem? Kind of, but tennis isn't boring with the CPUs. Volleyball, kind of like basketball in the last game, feels very structured. First one team defends, while the other attacks, and so on. This does make the whole experience kind of formulaic, and when we take a step closer to look at the gameplay, it becomes incredibly formulaic instead. This game mode has phases or states in which the game is played. Passing the ball, throwing the ball into the air, and attacking. On the defending side, this is instead replaced with waiting, and jumping into the air to block, which then gets converted into the attacking side. catching, passing, setting up an attack, and executing. All parts of this relies almost entirely on timing, to the point that if you don't manage to get 3 great timings in a row, you probably won't get to score. This is fine, but all the waiting you do isn't a whole lot of fun. Overall though, this sport is most of the time a whole lot of fun, but it's not something I'd start the game for. Also, this almost extreme reliance on timing does make the game really hard to play as a totally new player. This sport just isn't very intuitive here. Nintendo Switch Sports had to have bowling. Every Wii Sports title has it, it seems. But the funny thing with this iteration of it is the fact that it's almost certainly worse than the previous. I get the fact that it's simply different makes it a bit hard to compare, but the thing these game changes are almost always bad. But let's start with the things that aren't. The bowling alley looks great, and this game overall looks great, but this place particularly does something for me. But that's about it for the good changes for me. The biggest bad change here is the controls. They look the same to you watching me right now, but for some reason they made it so that you have to hold down the button you used to virtually hold the ball, past where you'd let go of it in the earlier titles. Actually, you have to hold it the entire way, because in Switch Sports, your character decides when you let go of the ball. Does this sound stupid? Because it is. Somehow the developers thought letting go of the ball by the end of your motion was too hard or something. This makes the game just worse. You can't decide to throw your ball high up in the air for a slower ball. You can't release it way too early and almost hit your friends behind you, and you can somehow throw the ball but still get a pop-up on your screen resetting you, reminding you that the control scheme is different for difference sake. It's unbelievably stupid and just worse. The side modes here have gained a bit of notoriety. On release, you'd automatically get thrown into the special bowling lanes if you did well, no longer being able to play the normal lanes you started the game to play. That's just bad. These special lanes in themselves aren't, they're fun challenges, but replacing the normal lanes for this, that's just obviously stupid. There's also a new Battle Royale game mode here, eliminating the lowest player as the match goes on. I didn't manage to actually play this because there weren't enough players to play it, which just kind of drives the point of putting the game online straight into the ground. Tennis is one of my favorite sports in the original, so this game had lots to live up to. It does emulate the original pretty well, but it also makes it ridiculously over the top in lots of other places. Overall though, it's just the exact same as the original. A back and forth with an emphasis on getting the ball to the other side of the court your opponent will have the toughest time catching it on. This is where the craziness starts. Your character in Wii Sports will at times jump, almost leaping across the court to catch the ball before the adversary scores. It's a bit over the top, but nothing outrageous. It's a game after all. In Switch Sports, you will almost quite literally fly across the court with the right timing on your swings, sending the ball back while lying on the ground. This is just ridiculous, and it makes me think that they really didn't get down the speed of the ball here, or they just made the game a bit easier to exploit, being able to send the ball at some annoying angles. That just might be me, but this is just a bit too much. It looks crazy when both sides start flying back and forth just to catch the ball. The player closer to the net has just as little utility here as in the first game, except I think the ball might be going even faster, meaning that if you miss with the one in front, you're more susceptible to missing with the one in the back. It's deceptively similar to the first game, but the differences here are not ones I love. Badminton is to me the best part of Switch Sports by far. It plays a bit like a slower version of tennis, with a lesser focus on timing, but timing is still really important here. Instead, this sport wants you to last and play smart. There's little to no depth in the shots you make here. There's some spin and maybe you can aim it just a bit, but you often only really win by confusing your opponent into doing something you want them to do. This is where the smashes come in, because you can smash smaller, normal shots. but these never go anywhere. Where we want to smash instead is when someone narrowly returns the ball, sending it high into the air with a wobbly sound. There's a single button in use here. Pressing the button on the back of the controller lets you do a kind of drop shot, a slow and easy to catch ball that just barely clears the net. But this is where the real smarts come in, combining shots like this with the others in order to play mind games. Playing with friends was a genuine challenge to the point games could go on for a pretty long time, into the 9 versus 9 point territories and beyond. Badminton is therefore in my top 5 favorite sports in Wii Sports history. It's still behind a couple of others, but this sport is genuinely great. I wish there was only a third little thing to do with the ball here though, because if this sport just had one more layer of depth, this sport could climb its way to the very top. Swordplay in Wii Sports Resort had problems, almost all stemming from the fact that the games you played within it were against bots. Bots that didn't know how to play the game very well. But in Switch Sports, Swordplay, now called Shambara, has evolved in many ways. The worst thing about it is the removal of the 10 level progression against the bots. You can no longer play out your Jedi power fantasy against hundreds of bots facing a boss by the end of it, which is admittedly pretty unfortunate, especially with all the cool additions this mode gives us. A good solo offering isn't something that these sport titles seem to prioritize, but all of them manage to do it anyway. Shambara though is a bad game to play on your own, which again is very unfortunate. Each sword type, be it the regular sword, charged sword or twin swords, introduces specific nuances to the gameplay. The regular sword is just a regular sword, and the best in the game if you want to follow a meta, which is boring but also just true. While the regular sword boasts simplicity in its mechanics, the charged sword caters to those adept at perfectly timed blocks, Sekiro style. The twin swords gimmick is to just spam attacks. Despite these distinctions, the plain sword remains the best choice for most players, thanks to its straightforward mechanics, which again is just a bit boring. There's some strategy here. Performing perfect blocks and hitting your opponent is the best way to win, obviously. But there's some subtlety here. Missing a block is substantially worse than just not blocking at all. This is a big risk, because hitting a block is obviously the best here. But yeah, there's some nuance here that you'll never get to dig into, because this mode just isn't all that fun for very long. So what conclusion do I even draw here? This game has good things going for it. It's by far the best looking game in the series, but it loses a bit of its original charm and most of its soul by removing the Miis and their expressive yet simple looks. It removes the minimalist aesthetic in favor of a sci-fi mall and Rocket League stadiums. In terms of the sports on offer here, badminton is amazing. I can't really fault the game in this sport, it's just great. But outside of that one, I think that the sports are either done better or the sports are just not all that involved. Golf, tennis and bowling are just better in the originals. Volleyball is fine, Shambara doesn't have any good single-player offerings, and football is just weird and unintuitive. It was released without a huge sport, golf. And when it eventually got released, it only added 3 new maps, as opposed to the earlier titles that added 3 times that. In this way, it's a very modern game. A game with an online mode I didn't speak about at all because no one wants to play that. That's not why you bought Wii Sports, Wii Sports Resort, or Switch Sports. It's a couch co-op and party game, and to me, that was lost somewhat with this addition. Don't get me wrong here though, playing this with a couple of friends across the globe does sound amazing, but the Switch doesn't have a built-in voice feature. You're going to have to sit quietly tryharding against your friend in golf without the banter of a friend. That doesn't sound very Wii Sports to me. Not at all actually. I'm sorry to say that all 3 games have a sport worth playing them for. I'm sorry about that, because unless they make a compilation game like Atari keeps doing, you'll never have an easy way to play all of these great sports without owning a Wiimote and a PC, or a Wii if you don't like pirating games and then emulating them, and you're going to need a Switch and a game for the Switch if you want to play any of these sports. The best version of tennis is from the original game. This is the reason why I even think of putting it in, alongside maybe boxing, but that gimmick to me runs dry very quickly. I love the emphasis on timing here. This runs through all parts of the mode, from serving with a super serve to returning the ball. There's genuine skill needed here, and timing especially. The best version of bowling is seen in Wii Sports Resort. I don't care all that much about the sport, but I know lots of people that do. The bowling in the original is not as nuanced because of the lack of Wii Motion Plus, but it does have a very simplified version of spins, so that's something. In Switch Sports they fucked with the controls and forced us into side modes, some of which require an internet connection. They changed stuff here for change's sake, which led to a cool looking bowling alley, but also to awful controls that just make no sense to anyone. The best version of golf is the one played in Wii Sports Resort, by far. At least 18 holes with the best controls in the entire series. If you play Switch Sports first, you might pick that, but the fact you can't tell how far you're going to putt, making cool snipes impossible, or because it was released months after the fact and was delayed even further than that with only 3 new maps, is just horrendous. If you somehow like the original more, you're probably speedrunning the game and enjoying that part of it, which is fair. But to me and most people, Wii Sports Resort did it best, by far. The best version of swordplay is the one playable in Switch Sports, if you have someone to play with. Because outside of normal 1 vs 1 modes, there is nothing to do here. The new types of swords and their special attributes are fun for a while, but there's no sense of progression here like the 10 levels of swordplay in the original. But let's just get to the point already. Wii Sports Resort is plainly the best game here. You might think that individual sports in the other games are better, but the improved golf, surprisingly deep basketball, and table tennis just have to be worth more than one specific sport. I love, and I mean love, the tennis in the original. I really like the badminton, and the volleyball of Switch Sports is really fun from time to time. But that doesn't, in my mind, come close to Wii Sports Resort. The Wii Sports title worked so well with all audiences because anyone can partake in them, and everyone knows the rules. They're sports. We all know that the ball in ping pong is supposed to go on the other side of the table. Switch Sports understands this, but tries its hardest to be futuristic too. It reuses the same gimmicks the first 2 had, while not improving it at all. The Switch Joy-Cons are better, so use them. Give me games that weren't possible before. Give me a origami contest. Some never before seen sports get like weightlifting, handball and a twerking competition in there, and you're back on top. The thing is, if Nintendo took a year or 2 to make Switch Sports Resort, it would probably be the best in the series, including the Wii U title, with most of the sports from Switch Sports adding some more. Maybe table tennis and basketball. Fuck it, just put all the sports from the previous games and don't add anything, and you're going to be successful. But please, add more golf courses while you're at it, and fix the damn bowling controls. All in all, Wii Sports showed us something special, a message permeating throughout its game design. This message is simple. Games should be fun, and games should be for everyone. And this message truly stands as its greatest feature to this day. Wii Sports is just special in this way. No other game comes close to being this intuitive to the point that quite literally anyone could play it. It's truly the game for everybody. Because if you can't find a sport in these games you don't enjoy, maybe you're the problem. Thanks for watching. This video was written in like a week, which is pretty fast. I've also gained a couple of patrons, so thanks for believing in me. Let's hope this video is the one that blows up so I don't have to go look for a real job. But let's be realistic for a little bit. I say all of this because, well, after this one I really do need to go find a job, which means less stuff on the channel. Sorry, but that's just the reality of things. Again, thanks for watching, and thank you, Patreon subscriber, for subscribing. It means a lot.